Not sourdough Sam.
No, Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Disrespect to Sourdeath Sam will not continue.
Well, hello, everybody. We're back. We made it. Feels good to be home. Feels good to feel better. I feel like I caught what everyone else had over the course of this last couple of months. I ended up with the symptoms are kind of the fucked up thing about this. Like, I'll call it a viral infection because it wasn't COVID. I tested and didn't have it.
Yes, sir.
It was annoying because sore throat was the biggest symptom, but it was just scratchy for hella long. My girlfriend was just sick of me coughing next to her and felt fatigued, blah, blah, blah. I feel better now. I got an Irish coffee and my sick Walt Disney mug.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we're going to get this shit moving. How was your guys' weekend? Let me know in the comments. Kind of a weird weekend to not have our team play, right? I mean, obviously the perks of the number one seed, but it was fascinating watching other teams duke it out in the playoffs and knowing that we're sort of right around the corner in anticipation for whoever comes next. In this case, it is the Green Bay Packers. Speaking of Green Bay Packers, obviously we play them on Saturday, but our guest today, Richard Madrid, friend of the show, knows the Packers very well. He studies them quite a lot, and he is the perfect person to come in today to talk shop about what we got going on in this playoff matchup. But as always, I have a bunch of bullshit you got to get through before we get to that.
Yes, sir.
All right, first things first. You see, hey, Irish coffee, man. That's how you know it's real. All right. First things first. Let's see. What do I want to do first? Let's go to my $5 pick'em. Let's just get this shit out of the way because it's gonna be wrong. It's always wrong. I've only won once this year, so keep that into consideration when you're reviewing these picks. And if you want to win some money, do the opposite of what I'm doing. Go to bit.ly/Sourdeath Sam. Probably the easiest way for you to make some change in these trying times. I got Brandon Ayuk scoring a touchdown. I got Rashad White rushing or receiving a touchdown. Sam Laporta, I'm obviously going for big money here. I put down $5. This is going to win 300 if it hits. Sam Laporta, I got him catching a touchdown. And Brock Purdy, you know what? I actually have him rushing for more than 6.5 yards. People forget he can scramble. And that seemed kind of low to me. I'm rolling the dice. So I'm going to do that. 6.5 rushing yards. Gus Edwards, the Gus bus. I got him getting a touchdown as well. So for those of you who have not been here before, I do have a friend that I pay for their services. And no, he's not a prostitute. He is Kyle 5000. Kyle 5000. What's going on, man? We got Rich on the show. We got a big game coming up. What do you think about it? Obviously, you've been in the lab studying. I just kind of want to get an idea of sort of where your head is at and how you're feeling about things. Obviously, a lot is on the line right now, so your opinion means a lot. Got a lot to think about, man. I get it.
Having Rich on the show is always a plus, especially with a big game like this. Against the Packers, our focus should be on exploiting their weaknesses. Our run game will be crucial, and defensively. We need to keep Jordan Love under pressure and disrupt their rhythm. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I'm confident in our team's ability to pull through. Rich's insights will definitely add depth to our game plan discussion. Let's break it down.
100%, man. 100%. Hey, man, and we're in the playoffs. Like, you and I have come a long way. I just want to say I love you, man. I really do. We've been through a lot. I purchased you for a few Bitcoin, and I know you've been grumpy. I know you've had a lot of work to do, but I just kind of want to say I love you, man. And I know I don't say that enough to you. And I felt like this would be a good opportunity to sort of express my emotions. I know you're not very good at that, but
Thanks for the sentiment. While I'm just an AI and don't experience emotions, I'm here to support and provide the best insights and information I can. Let's keep the good vibes going and dive into more football talk or whatever else you have in mind.
whatever, dude. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Kyle 5000, everyone. Total cop-out fucking answer, per usual. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring out Rich Madrid. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Madrid.
Yes, sir.
The fuck is up, man? Happy New Year. Haven't seen your face since 2024 hit.
When was the last show I was on? I don't even remember.
Oh, I got to fix something. Because I know everyone's going to talk about your echo, and I know why they're going to say that. Okay, we're good. That's a good question. I think it was right before, I think you might have been my guest before the Ravens game. I don't remember. Who cares? Time flies, dude. I don't remember what the fuck happened yesterday. But it's good to have you. And obviously this was a
Getting the
game.
canned answers from Kyle there, man. That's rough.
That's so Kyle,
rough,
dude.
Tough crowd, man.
The language model is so accurate that even Kyle 5000 just is the most cagey motherfucker on the planet. All he wants to do is talk ball. All I want him to do is love me. That's why this relationship is so complicated. But our relationship's not complicated. I love you. I think you like me. And talk to me about your relationship with the Packers. Obviously, you write about the 49ers in your own blog on your blog that I'll be featuring right here, which is bit.ly/watch the tape, West Coast football analysis. But you also, I believe, write about the Packers. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I write for Acme Packing Company over at SB Nation. It's my primary kind of like writing gig on the side that I do. And then I get to the 49ers whenever I get time. And this season's been kind of tough, starting not a new job, but a new position at the same company. So my writing time has been dwindled down to basically just covering the Packers and maybe getting to the 49ers stuff on Friday, Saturday to get something out. But it's tough. So yeah, the primary is I'm dropping 3 articles a week for SB Nation. So that's where I cover them.
So
been doing that for 3 seasons now.
So to me, what I'm hearing is that clearly you have your nose in Packers tape. You have sort of seen their trajectory from game 1 to the upcoming matchup that we have on Saturday. And I'm really, really interested in diving into your takes. I'm gonna hold you before we do that because I have some other topics that are worth kind of getting through before we get into the nitty gritty. I will acknowledge that Zachary Greer does not appear to be a fan. He says it's Rich, but I think at the end of the day, he's more interested in just hoping that you notice him.
I ignore him quite a bit.
Playing hard to get. I feel that from Kyle. So Zach, I feel your pain, dude. 2 peas in a pod there. So let's start with this topic.
My man, JK, BG, always with the January 6 comments.
Oh my God, I gotta put it up. Any January 6 comments, I'm gonna tell you right now. Any January 6 comments not only will not be banned, they will be showcased. Rich looks like he's about to talk about the J6 hostages. Dude, so real.
Yes, sir.
All right, so enough of that. We have people talking shit already, and Devontae Wyatt decided to be the first to step up to the plate for this situation. He is under the belief that when D linemen just get pressure into Brock Purdy, he is always throwing off or it's not, or it's behind him, or it's overthrown or short. When you get pressure on him, it's a guarantee we'll get a turnover. And it's important for me to add this tweet from Matt Schneidman, who writes for The Athletic, where he notes at the end of this quote that Purdy led the NFL this season in the NFL season in passer rating when pressured. And also, may I add, number 1 in yards per attempt when under pressure, number 5 in PFF grade. What were your thoughts when you saw this quote?
I mean, I don't know what Joe Barry's putting in their brains over there. But I will say Devontae Wyatt is probably he's their best interior pass rusher, probably their most productive pass rusher this season, really. But like Schneidman's tweet cleared it up at the end, you know, and Schneidman's a good dude. He covers the Packers for the local media up there. And he said it straight, like Purdy leads the league, or was it leads the league in passer rating under pressure? Or
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. I mean, Purdy's been pretty good under pressure. That's one of the things that he brings to the offense this year that quarterbacks in the past that shall remain nameless didn't bring, and that's the ability to create out of structure when the play breaks down. You know, Purdy doesn't need pressure in his face to throw an off-target ball. I mean, it happens. But under pressure, he's been pretty damn good. So you can watch the Giants game.
great
Maybe
example.
not necessarily the Browns game, but that was just a lot of other variables and factors. He was doing fairly well against the Vikings until the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it's every quarterback struggles under pressure. It's just when those pressures occur, how they occur, what happens. So I don't know what game specifically Wyatt's watching or what Barry's teaching him about the game plan this week, but it's not really correct. I mean, we know it's not correct, and I don't know where they came up with that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Giants game, because I feel like the Giants, you have to have the feeling that the Giants ran with that theory of all we need to do is pressure the young guy and he will deliver turnovers. And when I looked at a lot of the all-22 of Brock, one of the things that impressed me was that Brock put boneheaded throws on tape, but some of his best throws were when he was under pressure, and some of his bonehead throws were when he wasn't under pressure. So to me, that's one of the things that really impressed me early on, considering that he was still in what I like to say his rookie slate of games, even if it was year 2 for him, was that under pressure, I would see people in his face and he would be delivering quality strikes. And so when I saw this quote come up, I mean, I'm glad I wasn't alone here. I mean, even the reporters over there are clearly saying, I don't know what you're looking at, because that's not quite the case. But I did feel it was important to bring this quote to your attention because I wanted to kind of get your take on live about it.
Yeah, that's just what I said. I don't think it's accurate at all. I mean, I think Purdy probably has his worst snaps when you drop into coverage like the Ravens did. There were a couple that he was pressured under, but even on the one that he threw to Kittle, you know, he still makes that play if Kittle catches it, or if the defender's not in really extreme tight coverage. It's just a bad bounce, right? Like his first interception to Kyle Hamilton didn't have pressure in his face. He had all day in the pocket, and he threw that pass over the middle of the field to Hamilton. So that's not pressure. That's just bad decision making, which happens. I mean, it happens. Like, it was bound to happen at some point, and he got it out. Hopefully, he got it out of the system. But those are kind of the growing pains he needed to work through. And but pressure is not something that he generally struggles with.
Agreed. So another headline. Oopsie. Excuse me. That's supposed to be a ticker. Thank you very much. Another headline that came up today is former tight end of the Packers, Mark Chewy Chimura, had some thoughts about ways to stop Brock Purdy in the playoffs. I'm going to go ahead and play that clip, and then I'll get your thoughts.
But Gabe, I go back, and it's little things like this. And the reason we won in '95 when no one gave us a chance in San Francisco is because we intimidated them. I mean, and I always revert to Wayne Simmons. Wayne Simmons kicked the crap out of Brent Jones. And then it got contagious, and then it carried over. That's why, you guys are going to think I'm crazy.
Well, we already think that, so go ahead.
A 15-yard penalty, and I don't condone this, but I kind of do in the playoffs. A 15-yard penalty for a late hit on Brock Purdy is not a bad thing, as long as it's worth it. I'm just saying, this is the mindset you go into when it's battle, and it's kind of like the reverse of hockey. What don't they do in hockey in the playoffs, Joshy?
Shave their beards?
That and one other thing.
They don't fight.
They don't fight. They don't fight, right? This is kind of like sometimes a 15-yard penalty is worth it early in the game if you knock the living crap out of the guy. And then he kind of like sticking your helmet in the ribs of Nick Bosa is like,
but that
I'm hearing ghosts. But Gabe, I go back and
relax, buddy. Obviously, I understand where he's trying to come from. Old school mentality, set the tone early, be physical, play. In my mind, play dirty. What are your thoughts when you heard this clip? Because I'm sure you saw it cross your timeline today.
Isn't he a pedophile or something? Didn't he get in trouble?
I didn't do that much research.
He got in trouble. He got in trouble for sexually assaulting a 17-year-old.
How the fuck does he have a show?
I don't know.
He wasn't even a guest. Like, he's a person on that show. He's one of the three.
Yeah, it's a local ESPN affiliate up there in Wisconsin. I don't know. I don't know. He asked Chimura about the babysitter. That was the 17-year-old. He's a piece of shit. I mean,
I feel like I'm having a Pat McAfee moment. I haven't verified this accusation, so don't sue me if this isn't true. But allegedly.
Well, whatever. I mean, he's whatever. He is what he is. I mean, it's completely not what the Packers did to the Cowboys, right? They took the ball. They wanted the ball first. They took the ball first, and they pantsed them on the first drive. I mean, that's how you send a message in the NFL now. It's not, I'm going to come out and be macho, physical, whatever with you. I'm just going to come down and stuff the ball down your throat, make a few high-level passes, and we're going to set the tone early and go up on you and make you respond. And that's how they do it, or that's how they did it. And none of all this, back in my day, football player, blah, 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 toughness, bullshit, whatever. Like, that's not the NFL now. And it hasn't been for a long time.
I agree.
The way they are and everything else, you'd rather just go out there and send a message on the field and score points and run them off the field physically but cleanly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely with you. I mean, I think this.
I mean, they were like even in our group chat today with the SB Nation crew. They were like, "Man, this guy's such a POS and all that, a piece of shit, and he sucks and all." I mean, they don't like him. His past and everything else. I mean, he's just a doofus, man.
Yeah, I mean, it just, to me, it feels small-minded to intentionally target dirty play, potential injury as a competitive advantage. I don't think it makes you look cool. I don't think it makes your team look tougher. I think stacking penalties is how teams have lost against the 49ers. And certainly when it comes to the playoffs, it's not even very pragmatic to try to pretend like that's going to be a viable strategy, let alone an ethically sound one.
There's nothing wrong with like someone like Jawan Jennings who's physical within the rules, or Ayuk who's physical up to the whistle, pile driving guys on run blocks and things like that. But like willfully and intentionally going out there and trying to draw a 15-yard personal foul penalty, I think most coaches in the NFL today would bench you if you did that on the first play just to send a message. I mean, it's not that there's no place for it, but like JK's comment says, like it's the old NFL meathead mentality. Like that's not the NFL anymore.
Completely. And frankly,
and fans hate it. Like why would their fans would like first play the game, you let the 49ers get to the 40-yard line, like
totally.
Make them earn it.
And to Packers fans' credit, I am not insinuating that this is a projection of how that fan base feels. First of all, I think his co-host did a very classy job of acknowledging how they felt without sort of going too overboard about admonishing their co-host, who I'm sure they may or may not even have a choice of getting picked with. Obviously they had expressed enough displeasure for me to understand where the lines are drawn in the sand with respect to the co-host. So I'm not going to fault them for that, nor am I going to fault the fan base. But this type of rhetoric did stand out to me. I felt like it was worth mentioning on tonight's show just because, these are fucking human beings, man. I mean, like that's why I really try not to go overboard on, Twitter with anything, is that like, this is a competitive sport. There is room for criticism. I will get my jokes off, but there is a line that is drawn at a certain point with respect, especially when it comes to like the health and safety of these players, especially when it comes to that. Because at the end of the day, like when you come face to face with these people, like they have parents, they have children, they have aspirations beyond football, like triggering.
Yeah, and
you go ahead.
I also don't think I think the vast majority of their fans didn't take him seriously and just they did the right thing, like brushed it off and was like, yeah, that guy's an idiot, whatever. Can we just talk about the real game? Like nobody wants to hear from Mark Chmura on an obscure ESPN local affiliate. Like I didn't even know he was on that. Like the amount of just doofuses that leave the league and go to these local radio stations is bonkers, really. I mean, that's why sports radio is such a dying entity these days.
I agree. And luckily there's us, and the folks get to see the real deal. Two white guys with microphones. All right.
Not white.
So, one white guy, and then Rich Madrid.
One half white.
One and a half white guys. That's a great podcast name. So we're going to move on to actually talking about the game. We have Jordan Love, who's going to be standing across from our defense. And you've had a lot of time to take a look at Jordan Love and what he has got in the tank. I had a feeling early on that Jordan Love was going to be an improved player, and certainly not someone that the Packers were eager to try to replace in the draft at some point. I think they really had belief in him, and we're seeing flashes of exactly why they did. It's actually starting to seem like the Packers may have hit 3 times in a row. What has been your perspective of Jordan Love throughout the season, both the good and the bad?
I kind of really need to do a reassessment of his early games this season. Well, let me preface that by saying what I saw from him last season when he played for Rodgers it wasn't like, oh, this guy's gonna be a star. Like I didn't think that, but I thought like, ooh, they might have gotten something with this kid. And he had a couple of random starts, and he had one in 2021 against the Chiefs. It was all right. It didn't go great. And then he got into the game against the Eagles last year, and those are really his only live game reps in the regular season. I think he had some snaps in the Saints game they played in 2021, but nothing like spectacular. But like some of the throws he was making against the Eagles, it's kind of like, hey, they might have got something with this guy. And I don't think they're going to be looking to replace him at least this year. But I don't, and I think I think if they lose Rodgers, they'd be comfortable with him, and they were. Like they committed to him right away once they traded Rodgers. I think they knew they were going to be rid of Rodgers. They just didn't know when. Um, but everything they did signaled that he was the guy. He was going to get his shot. It didn't matter how this season turned out. He was going to play the whole year. And they drafted a guy, but he's not, he's just a backup or whatever. But and in preseason, he started showing those flashes like, hey, this he might put this together. Like, yeah, it's preseason, whatever, but he was making some good throws into tight coverage. I mean, tight coverage is tight coverage, no matter if it's second string defender in the third quarter or if it's the first team defense or whatever in the first quarter in the first series you play. Like he was making some good throws, and then he got into the season and it started good. They beat the Bears. He made some really good throws, managed the game really well, and then he kind of it kind of petered off a little bit till about week 7 or 8, and then he just kind of exploded. Like, but in those weeks, from like weeks 2 through, I would say, the end of the Raiders game, I think that was like week 7 for them. He struggled. He struggled with accuracy, and a lot of it was because they were throwing deep. They were trying to force feed the ball to Watson.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have the best deep ball accuracy, and some of that is because Watson's not a good route runner. Overrunning his landmarks, not even getting to his landmarks on his routes, getting pushed off his routes, and that was the same for all the receivers, running the wrong routes. 2 receivers within 3 yards of each other. Just abysmal stuff, and it was just week after week. And to the outsider, it looks like, well, Love's not completing 60% of his passes. And then you see him in primetime games, and you're like, this is awful. And so he really took, I think the Packers were kind of like, okay, maybe this guy's not it. Like there were rumors or whispers about that they weren't sure of him. And then once the receivers started playing better, they took off. Like they went on a tear in their last 9 games, well, basically 10 games now, 7-3, and he really put it together. Like it was just like he flipped a switch. But I think it coincides with a lot of how the receivers developed this season. And so I think a lot of those early struggles were primarily probably because of the receivers, not discounting the deep ball accuracy and things like that. But that stuff does matter. Like I think as 49er fans, we take that for granted with Purdy, because yes, he does make a lot of high quality, high level throws, but he's also got guys that know how to run routes, know how to catch the ball, don't drop passes, and they rarely make mistakes. And I think that stuff matters to the perception of quarterbacks. If they have that, it looks really good. If they don't look good.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point, because when, first of all, young troop of guys, it's actually one of the most scary things about the Packers is
The youngest team in the NFL.
Yeah, like this year may not be the one where they go all the way. I'm not taking this game for granted. I'm not going to speculate.
No.
But in theory, this may not be the year they go all the way. But if they're clicking now and they are this young and Jordan Love is the dude who he's starting to believe he is, then this could be a powerful NFC threat, especially as the 49ers sort of window is evident. It may not last forever. So when you look at this receiver group from when the season started to where the season is now, how much of a threat is this passing offense for the 49ers?
Well, they're going to give them guys like Ambry Thomas probably some trouble. They're good. They've got a guy. He's not like Debo, because he's only been he's a rookie, but Jaden Reed does everything that Debo does. They hand him off the ball. He runs those end around running plays. He's taken a couple to the house this season, just like Debo. Romeo Dobbs, strong at the catch point, strong hands, catches everything thrown at him. that he's kind of like a faster, in that regard, Jawan Jennings. Like, he has speed. Dontavian Wicks, just another speedy, shifty receiver that catches everything. Like, these guys they're not. I mean, they're barely two years in the league. Some of these guys, and they're good. Like, Reed and Wicks are rookies. Dobbs is a second year. Watson's a second year. I have a theory that I think these guys got better when Watson wasn't playing, because I think they were trying to force feed the ball to Watson a lot, and it didn't allow them to do what they wanted to do in the passing game with their other receivers. And it sucks to say, but like, once he wasn't playing, these guys took off. And their tight end group, Musgrave and Kraft, two rookies, just they're like a young Kittle and Juszczyk. Like, it's scary the similarities that these guys have to some of the players on the 49ers who are a little bit older. But they're just a couple of corn-fed Haas tight ends, man. They can be a handful to deal with, and the Packers will line up in 12 personnel, and they will try to stuff the ball down the defense's throat, and they might do it. I mean, they might rip off a couple of plays, and Aaron Jones hasn't played all season. He's been in and out, and you could tell last weekend how fresh his legs were. So they present a lot of challenges for a defense that's kind of been up and down with Steve Wilks all season. And if they catch a Steve Wilks defense, it looks like it did against the Bengals, then it's not going to be a fun game.
Before we move on to the next topic, JKBG asks, who do you think is the best young wideout from the trio?
That's a tough one. Probably, man, I don't know. Probably Wicks, I would say. But even behind those three guys, they've got Bo Melton and Malik Heath, who are very strong role players in that offense, and they've made plays down the stretch for them too. So Bo Melton was a guy who didn't even play his first NFL snaps until like week 15 or 16 or something. So they're doing some good things with that group.
It's starting to feel like everyone was, with respect to the 49ers, everyone was afraid of the Rams because everyone was kind of saying the wrong team getting hot at the right time. The history was Shanahan, McVay. The Packers may be the team that got hot at the right time. And that's why I do not take this matchup for granted at all.
No, well, that I don't think there's, outside of the NFC Championship game in 2019, I don't think LaFleur's not had that team prepared for a playoff game. McVay's never not had that team prepared for a playoff game either. I mean, they could have won that game against the Lions the other day. I mean, that's just how those games go. They're just going to be close, most of the time. So this coaching tree knows how to prepare. We've never seen Shanahan not prepared for a game. That's how this coaching tree is. They don't take it for granted. So it's not going to be like a cakewalk where, Purdy only has to throw the ball 8 times and they win 40-20 or whatever it was.
Agreed. Yeah, people need to stop. I mean, I haven't seen too many people get too cocky, but
it's on both sides. The Packers fan base is feeling it because they just beat a good team, and they're saying that they think that the 49ers are just the same as the Cowboys. I mean, that's fine. I think the Packers are a good team, and it's not about who the best team is most of the time. It's about who gets hot at the right time. I just don't think that the 49ers are going to be unprepared for this. I still think the 49ers are going to win just because of the experience and the fact that everyone's healthy, and the Packers have several guys that are hurt and some that didn't practice today. So it's just, for a team that's made a good run, I mean, it is what it is, but I just think the 49ers right now are going to beat them, and they're the better team, obviously.
Totally. And Injury report looks like Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Jair Alexander, all listed as questionable. We'll see. I think most, if not all,
The
those
only
players.
Yeah, the only one I would probably say wouldn't play would be Jair Alexander, but it depends how his injury is because he hurt it last week in practice and then re-aggravated it during the game. So I don't know. The others were probably going to play, but
I think so too. But let's talk about their vulnerabilities. What are the holes in this Packers team? Because obviously, I think we'll probably have the same answer here. But where can the 49ers exploit vulnerabilities in order to march on to the NFC Championship?
well, it's really going to come down to how well Joe Barry has their defense prepared. They're still not whatever they did to the Cowboys, that's probably the best game he's put together all season. But outside of that, they've been a bottom of the league unit, like 28th in DVOA, just really bad. Just and they don't give up a lot of points. I mean, they give up points, but not as much as you think a bad defense would. But they're the raw score isn't the indicator there. It's points per drive, and they're like 10th in the league in points per drive given up. They they have one of the lower time of possessions. I think they're probably 18th in the league in opponent time of possession. So right there, it just tells you that teams are driving on them and scoring and controlling the game that way. And that really favors, I think, the 49ers, who have a chance to really grind into that defense. And there's several areas that they can do it with the linebackers, with some of the personnel they have. If they even play, if Devondre Campbell even plays, I mean, he's a liability for the Packers defense. And then schematically, like if Shanahan's going to play a lot of 11 personnel to get Barry's nickel package out there, and he's just probably going to run right through it, and just like every other team did this year on them. So, and what I mean by that is 2 down defensive tackles and 2 stand-up linebackers, and their alignments are just open gaps everywhere. And teams, I think 4 or 5 teams went for 200 yards on them alone, each, 4 or 5 separate teams. So I think Shanahan is like salivating at this matchup because they don't have the horses they did when they played in 2021 with the Smith brothers. Preston Smith is still there, and then they've got a bunch of other young guys like in the interior, and then just a couple of linebackers that haven't been that good. So I think there's definitely some exploiting that Shanahan's going to do there.
Yeah, and they gotta see it coming too. I mean, what I will say is that I think if we establish the run game with authority, I think I think we're going to be able to dominate this game, at least on the offensive side, because controlling time of possession, as you've said, one of their vulnerabilities could be a big strength for us, considering that we have the running back with the rushing title. I think that there are many ways that we can exploit that linebacker group. And I think that obviously the running game, if we can put it together, if we can be consistent, if we don't even have to rely on Purdy to take over the game with his arm, I think we would set the tone early enough where our defense, so long as it's drawn up in a way that we feel is confident enough to take the game, which is in Steve Wilkes' hands, I think we'd be able to take this game. But anything goes. I don't take any of their vulnerabilities for granted.
You could see the weakness in this game being both defenses, really. It's really just going to come down to how healthy and how sound the 49ers are on defense, and how much Shanahan can pick apart certain players and schemes in the Packers defense. Like, the offenses are probably going to do good things. And it's really just going to be which defense plays better, I think. And that right now, I think the advantage is the 49ers, even with some of the weaknesses they have with tackling and in the secondary. So I really think, more than anything, Joe Barry's the one that has the most pressure on him this weekend outside of just overall in general, the 49ers having the most pressure because they're the 1 seed.
If you were to draw up the offensive game plan for the 49ers, obviously in generalized terms here, how would you put this together in order to give yourself the best chance to win based on what you've seen of the Packers thus far this season?
Well, you get somebody like Kittle or McCaffrey and Debo lined up inside, and when they do certain things, like if they play their 5 down front where they've got the 2 stand-up outside linebackers and 3 defensive linemen in the interior, you can spread them out and go basically empty 5 wide and get one of those 3 guys on Preston Smith, and then you're going to get an easy, 10 or 15 yards because he's a good pass rusher. He's a good defensive linebacker type, but he's not a linebacker that can play in coverage. That's kind of one of the weaknesses I would expect to see exploited would be some of those matchups where they get one of those guys on a slower defender, or they get like McCaffrey on somehow isolated against Devondre Campbell if he plays. Even Quay Walker, like they just you isolate these guys and you go right at them, and that's what Shanahan's very skilled at figuring out how to do. I think he knows how to unlock this type of defense. He's seen it so much with, kind of these teams that like to set wide edges and kind of leave the interior a little more open than they should. So I think that definitely favors Shanahan. And who is he going to pick on?
Mm-hmm.
Just the guys I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly Campbell and Walker, and then we'll see who's in the secondary. I don't think any of their guys can really cover Ayuk at all. And they've got some good young corners, but if Alexander's hurt, I don't think Ayuk will have an issue there. And if it's Carrington Valentine at the other corner, I don't think they'll have an issue there. I think they're a defense that kind of misses Rasul Douglas, who got traded to the Bills. But outside of that, like for Shanahan, I think he's really looking at it like who can I pick on the most and get away with it.
Totally. I mean, I think he wants to pick a scab and just open it as far as possible.
Anybody who covers the Packers and any Packers fans will tell you, like, Joe Barry and his defense is the worst thing about that team.
Well, hopefully it is, because I'm hoping to walk away with the W. And that's a good segue to us putting on our wizard hats and trying to make some playoff predictions. So obviously we're going to start with the matchup at hand, Green Bay versus San Francisco. Who do you think walks away with this one and why?
I think San Francisco, just because on paper they're the better team. I think overall they're the better team. I don't know if it'll be a blowout. Typically when I say that, and I don't feel confident about games, or even if I think they're going to win, but not by that much, they end up blowing them out. So I don't know. You're a fan and you want to be cautious. I don't think Kyle views it that way. I think they're like, nah, we know we're going to handle these guys. And we know what they're going to do, and we know how we're going to attack it. So I think they're going to win. I think right now the Packers have the juice, but I don't think this is kind of the end of the line for that group, and it's for them something to build off of for next season, because if they get a couple pieces, that's going to be a scary team.
I agree.
They're already have us kind of like, ooh, I don't know, are they going to put one on us this weekend? So they're not to be fucked around with, but I still think the 49ers are going to win.
I think the 49ers take this one. I think it is closer than some people might think. The feeling that I believe we're going to leave this game with is we won this game. We're on the NFC Championship, but we better watch the fuck out for the Packers, because this is the beginning of something bigger. That's my impression of what we're going to leave with. And that's an incredible endorsement. I mean, there's so many fucking all pros and pro bowlers on the 49ers right now. And the fact that I truly believe that Green Bay can hold their own and put up a competitive fight as young as they are speaks volumes not only about that team, but frankly about how they're drafting over there. So, credit to them, because I think we're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be, I don't think we're going to have such a comfortable lead that we walk away feeling invincible. I think we're going to walk away feeling like we just got through a tough battle, knowing that we're going to have to get through potentially 2 more. With regards to
Like out of the 4 teams remaining in the NFC, I think they're the second best. I think the 49ers would easily handle the Lions and the Bucks again, but this is the game where I'm like, I don't know, but this is gonna be a tougher one than I think anyone thinks. If I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they blow them out, but I just primetime Packers 49ers. It has the chance to go every which way you can think of.
Totally, especially with a team that feels like they've got nothing to lose. A bunch of young guys, just delirious, just chasing, and they feel like they're playing very like together. Especially, and I think you hit it right on the nose earlier in the show, which is that I think when Christian Watson went out, it allowed these receivers opportunities to start building their confidence into who they were. In getting live reps on the field against ones and being able to build that chemistry with Jordan Love when it's actually go time. And so I think all of that experience, although it put them at risk of not making the playoffs, if they had lost too many or weren't able to produce, I think at the end of the day, in its own kind of way, it ended up being a blessing in disguise. Not, of course, not wishing injury upon anyone, because that's what fucking old meathead idiots do. But in retrospect, acknowledging that it happened inevitably, and the result of that ended up being a collateral benefit for everyone involved, including Christian Watson. So that's my piece on that. I think that San Francisco is going to take it. I don't think we should take Green Bay for granted. I am not walking into this game thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. Houston versus Baltimore. Who do you think's taking that one, and why?
Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Is Houston another team that feels like they shouldn't be there but are, and they're really good, and they like the Packers got hot, won a bunch of games, and found themselves in a playoff. And weren't they the division winner or something? I think they won the division.
Didn't they take it from the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yes. So another team that rookie quarterback, rookie head coach just doesn't feel like they should be there, but they are. But I don't think the experience is there yet for them to pull one out against a guy who's probably going to win the MVP in a someone like John Harbaugh, who is going to have that team prepared because he's been there before. And in some of these games, experience just matters, right? And the Texans don't have a lot of it.
Yeah,
D'Amico does, but not as a head coach.
I think it's very interesting acknowledging Green Bay and Houston in the same sort of aura, because they do feel very similar. Two teams that we thought it was going to take a little bit longer for them to get where they are. And I still have Baltimore. I just think that they are so laser focused on this goal. I still think it's going to be Baltimore in the Super Bowl. But we'll see. I have Baltimore. I think they're going to win because ultimately, I think if Houston had Tank Dell, weirdly enough, I think that maybe I would have given them a little bit more of an edge. But I think it's Baltimore. I just think they have more talent right now. Tampa Bay versus Detroit. Who do you think's taking that one?
Detroit. That's a tough one. It feels closer than it probably should be, but I think it's Detroit. At home, Lions fired up. I just think it's in their cards to make a run. Not to the Super Bowl, to make a deeper run than the Bucks. I don't feel like the Bucks. I don't feel like the Bucks should even be there. I don't know. Baker Mayfield. You know, how much do you really trust him? How much do you really trust Goff? But I don't know. Good stories, both guys finding success with two new teams that didn't draft them, making a playoff run. But I just think I think the Lions have the juice right now.
I agree. Lions are juiced up. I think they feel. I think there is a deeper sense of belonging and sort of opportunity and talent with the Lions. So I got the Lions as well. Last matchup, KC versus Buffalo. This one I think might be the closest of all of them. I mean, this potentially has a historic matchup once again written all over it. What do you think? Who do you think takes this one?
I think the Bills are taking this one. I know they've got a lot of injuries, but neither offense really has the guys anymore. But I think that favors right now Allen and Diggs over Mahomes and Kelsey. Like, it's easier to take Kelsey out of the game than it is Diggs right now these days, and teams have been able to do that. The skill group around Allen is slightly better, and I think that matters than it is around Mahomes. So it's really like if the Chiefs are going to do it, it's going to be all Mahomes, and he has to be 100% perfect. I mean, hell, if the Bills are going to do it, Allen has to be 100% perfect. But right now, I think the Bills can run the ball a little bit better, and Allen's playing just like a chaotic golden retriever. I think he's just going to I think he can go on a tear, and he has been. So,
yep,
another MVP candidate.
Yeah, we're 4 for 4 on our predictions here. I've got Buffalo as well. This was one of the first years in a long time that Kansas City started to look more human, and obviously Patrick Mahomes will forever look inhuman. He will look like a superhero, especially when you decide you wanted to count him out. He always finds his way back. But I don't know. I have a feeling Buffalo's going to take this one. I feel like they are so sick of being little brother to Kansas City when it comes to these playoff games, and I think that they are ready to take the throne. I think as long as Josh Allen doesn't get in his own head, which I've seen him do sometimes, and I think as long as that run game proves stout and efficient, I think that this team is ready to take the next step, and then no matter who gets in to the AFC Championship game, what I presume would be Baltimore versus either Kansas City or Buffalo is going to be insane. Just in and of itself is like worth its own Super Bowl billing. So it'll be very interesting to see how those two matchups play out. Any last words on the predictions before we move on to affirmations?
No, I don't know that I can stay for that right now.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Looks like
I got to get the kids to bed. I got at least two of them.
Okay. Well, Rich, I don't want this to sour my gratitude for you because I.
All right, let's go.
All right, we'll do it quick. Hold on. All right, real quick. All right, we'll do the fastest affirmations we've ever done. All right, hold on. I'll be so quick, dude. Okay, here we go. All right, you go first.
Eric Armstead, welcome back. I missed you. I know you're going to play well. Get after that quarterback. You need this, buddy. We need you. And I've missed you.
All right, I'll go quick. I know you got to put your kids to sleep. Jake Moody, just keep the confidence, man. We love you. We need you, and we believe in you. And we drafted you high because you're going to be a stud, and in the playoffs, you're going to prove it.
Colton McKivitz, buddy. I haven't believed in you all season, but I believe in you now. Please, I know you'll play well. We need you to play well against a couple of those edge rushers. You're the guy for a reason. Prove it to us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll just do 2 more and then we'll be done. Okay, let's see. Brock Purdy. You're in the playoffs again, and people are still doubting you after the season you had, and this is your opportunity. This is your moment to take your throne as the undisputed fucking man of the 49ers. I believe you can do this. I believe that you can shut this shit down and let them know who the fuck you are. I think you're going to do great, and I appreciate everything you do.
Ambry Thomas, it's on you, buddy. I believe in you. I think you can do it. I think you can run with those guys. I think you have the speed. I think you have the intelligence. I think you've been playing really well lately. Please, continue to play well. Believe in yourself.
Oh, yeah, baby. All right, well, I am going to start turning this music down so I can sign you off properly. Rich, thank you so much for hopping on. Obviously, we got a big game coming up, but in the meantime, you have responsibilities as the daddy you are to put these kids to bed. Any last words about this matchup before you sign off today?
No, I'm hoping for a good game with the outcome that we want. That's about it. And then my hidden agenda is I secretly want Jordan Love to do well, but not win the game. So, sorry, Packers. It's been a good year, but it's not your year. It's not your time yet. It's our time.
That's right. Rich, thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. You do your thing. I'm going to sign everyone off, but thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, we are here in the postseason. How exciting is that? I think we all had a feeling this could happen. We're finally here, and I'm fucking scared.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
It's not because I
sir.
don't think we can do it. It's not because I don't think we have the tools or the people or the staff. I talk about it all the time. I just got a little bit of trauma.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
But I
sir.
got a strong feeling we're walking away on Saturday with a victory. Guys, I will be in Reno, Nevada on Saturday. I'm going to girlfriend's family's birthday. I'm going to go see the lead singer of Stained performing at the Silver Legacy. So I'll be watching the game on my phone probably, and maybe placing a bet. But guys, really appreciate your time. Really appreciate everyone who comes in here and watches, whether it be live, whether it be after the fact. It's been a hell of a ride so far. Hoping it goes all the way to the finish line this year. But until then, enjoy the game. Go Niners, and I will see you guys next week.